A Java method is a simple way of grouping commonly used code for efficient and easy access. Things like math.out and system.out.println are built-in methods for processing numbers and printing to the screen. To create a method, there is a certain format that you must use. The first part of the code to create a method is a modifier. These are certain characteristics that define a method and how it will act. Two commonly used modifiers are public and static, which define from where the method can be called or used. Next is the return type. This defines the type of variable, if any, that the method will output for the program to use. This can be anything from a simple integer to an array of strings. The method can actually be used as if it equals the return. This allows a variable to be set to the return of the method. A return type that's set to void outputs no value. This can be useful if the method does something like printing to the screen. Subroutines are then called by their name, which is the next part of creating a method. This is followed by parentheses that contain local variables separated by commas. These formal variables are set when the method is called and are how the programmer interacts with the method being called. Unlike actual variables that are often used in the main method, these formal variables are only available to the method and are usually destroyed when the method completes. The last and most important part of the method is the implementation. This is the code that runs when the method is called. This code often processes the inputted variables and returns the end result. The great thing about methods is that the programmer does not necessarily need to know what the implementation is, just what it accomplishes. One last thing to know about methods is overloading, which is pretty handy. This is when you create multiple methods with the exact same name but different types of parameters. Therefore, the computer knows which one to call based on what parameters the programmer inputs. Often it can be helpful to do this when you need more flexibility but need to accomplish a similar task. Let's take a look at this simple method randint that I created. As you can see, it is a public static method. It outputs an integer. It's called randint, as I just said, and also it requires an array of integers. It's a pretty simple method that just finds a random integer and outputs that from the array. As you can see, the last part of a method is if you have a return type, you need return. In this case, I say out because that is the variable that is set to the random number. Let's scroll up the program a little bit and take a look at the main method. As you can see, I created an int array, which is just a bunch of random numbers that I typed out, 465, etc. This is called myIntArray. Next, we're going to call that with randint in parentheses myIntArray. Notice that this doesn't have to be the same as nums, which is what we defined in the actual method. Again, the programmer just has to know what to input in the method and what's going to come out, how it's going to change. You don't really need to know the names of the formal variables or how any of it works. As I said earlier, when you return something from a method, it actually becomes kind of equals to that, so you can use it as a variable for the output. So now I'm setting int randnum to the output of randint. Lastly, I do system.out.println randnum to print it to the screen.